Give me a D and a G. It's the Dunga Show. It's the Dunga Show.
Hey, dog, your beard's looking flickin' great, my man.
Thanks, Gus. I've been using the Bush Beard Wash.
The what now?
At Bush Beard, they know that every man with a beard is a unique beardo. And that's why they offer a wide range of products to cater to every beard's needs. Whether you have a long and luscious mane or prefer to keep it short and sharp, their products will help you achieve that perfect look.
From the nourishing beard oil and balm to the refreshing beard wash, their products are made with all-natural local ingredients to keep that beard healthy, soft, and lustrous. The beard comb and brush are designed to detangle and shape your beard, making sure you always look your best.
At Bush Beard, they're dedicated to providing the best possible grooming experience for all the beardos out there. So why settle for an average beard when you can have a glorious, well-groomed one? Try Bush Beard products today and unleash the full potential of your beard.
Be sure to use Dog and Gus 10 and get 10% off your order.
Bush Beard, the small town brand with the big old Canadian heart. Welcome to the Dog and Gus Show, now on Whitewater Rocks Radio.
Hi, Dog.
Hey, Gus, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
What do we got going on today?
Got a little thing. Want to tell them about it?
No, you forgot the name already?
Nope. Chiron Productions.
Oh, yes. It's a little production company we've got here.
Really? What gave it away?
I think it's the name.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So can I correct?
Gina's
It's,
going to know.
it's like
It's promotions. It's promotions. It says right on the friggin' thing, man.
I can't read.
Oh, damn. We're sorry. Promotion company.
Oh, it's not production?
No, dog. Oh, man. Should we start over? No, we're good. Sorry, guys. That was rude. Chiron Promotions, thank you for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm not talking anymore. I don't want to mess
Are you
up.
embarrassed?
No.
Okay.
No.
So what brought about, like, what made you decide to do a promotion company and not a production company?
Well, we really wanted to capture the fact that, it's not so much, I guess there's some part of production, but it is focusing on the promotion of the wellness, but also the art of artists and musicians in Ottawa. So that's why the word promotions was chosen.
Oh, that's great. I think that's great. And you say basically what you're trying to do is just bring more attention to Canadian or Ottawa artists and promoting them in that sense?
In that sense, as well as mental health.
If we were professional, we'd be like making money off this, right?
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. We have a promotions company that's going to help promote our podcast.
Okay. Where did you two guys meet?
We met through Rocktoberfest, actually. Yeah, I don't know how you found me, actually.
So the Space Between started following my organization where I'm executive director. At that point, I noticed after you started following us that we started following you back, and I noticed that you had Rocktoberfest.
Did I follow you first?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. And so
Okay, good on
without
me.
knowing each other, randomly, it was like just a random act. So then when I saw Rocktoberfest, I thought it was like really neat. And so I reached out to you and said like, hey, how can I support without, being like a name sponsor type thing. So, and that's how it happened.
That's cool. So you just sort of, you followed them late at night one night and then,
Apparently.
yeah.
I didn't even know that I followed you guys first. That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, Rocktoberfest was such a well done event. So and we were so happy to be a little part of it as well. And it was obviously Chiron and Promotions is definitely a part of that. So that's amazing.
That's where it started.
Yeah. So there was like a spark there, and then you guys sort of have similar interests, or like, what's your like mission statement if you could say something for the promotion company?
Go for it, James.
Well, the kind of mission statement that we've been working with is promoting the art and wellness of musicians. And the whole goal that we've sort of been talking around is trying to figure out how to take a little bit more of like a all-encompassing approach to music promotion in a sense. And it's not just about running the shows, but we also want to kind of foster and promote a sense of well-being through it in the environment, and also building some like critical skills and in the scene, and also just generally sort of doing a bit of a better job at kind of creating a bit more of a robust scene and developing the musicians in it. It's a pretty tricky industry, as I mean anyone who's in it knows, and so you do need to have some pretty thick skin and be pretty resilient to kind of make it work. And so we're pretty aware of that and trying to kind of bring that understanding to what we're doing with the music promotion stuff as well, and kind of go above and beyond a little bit.
Yeah, no, we've noticed that it's interesting. Like, I think there needs to be a fresh approach on how to promote the Ottawa-based bands, because younger people being in these bands, they're using the tools that are available to them, but maybe a lot of bands that are not aware of the actual tools available to them. A promotion company such as yourself would definitely help them with that. Would you agree?
For sure. I mean, it's pretty challenging, and even for the young savvy people, it's still challenging, just because there's a lot more that can go into it, other than just making an Instagram post once, right? And that's, I think, where a lot of people sort of get misled or confused, and I can't figure out why they're not getting more traction on it, that kind of thing. So there definitely is a lot more to it, from just like strictly a promotion standpoint.
Yeah, fair enough.
And you're also incorporating the wellness too. Now, are you do you have like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not going to come to me. To deal with, like you said, the rejection that you get when they're like, you're trying to put stuff forward. Do you have workshops, is the word I was looking for, to teach coping skills for that kind of stuff for our local bands, so they don't get frustrated and quit?
Yeah, so we're working on developing those workshops in the next little while and offering them. Again, everything is like very like low cost or subsidized, so it's affordable. Some will probably be offering at, again, if not low cost, even free in some cases, depending on what it is. Currently, what we have in place is one-on-one supports for situations as such as like rejection. However, like goal planning, and we're taking a bit more of like a proactive approach, and building those skill sets before reaching a crisis situation.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, so much better.
It's something we're looking to kind of implement even kind of more as kind of an element of the promotion itself. Like, as we have a couple of kind of bigger projects that we're sort of working on here, and as part of it, we want to be able to sort of incorporate that sort of resiliency, skill building, having the right tools in your toolkit to be able to handle the the challenges, the unique challenges kind of this industry. And so we're working to incorporate that into the actual events and the promotion themselves on the back end of things for the artists that are doing it.
Cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. And like, so when you say an artist was to approach you like sort of green and not knowing what to do, like what would be part of your process? Obviously you have to analyze that band in particular, that artist in particular. Like, what would be sort of the step-by-step process that you would go through with them? Would you do like a analysis, or how would it go?
I mean, yeah, like you said, it kind of depends a little bit on each band, right? Like some bands, just the number of people will make a difference, if there's 2 people or 10 people, and then, where they're at in their sort of career. And, for example, if we have a band, we'll sit down and kind of meet them a little bit and, get an idea of what it is they're doing and their experience level and all that kind of stuff. And then sort of kind of assess and go from there. And, they might need a little bit more help dealing with rejection. And, okay, what are you going to do when someone says they didn't really like your show? Is that going to crush you and you're going to quit? Or are you going to figure out how to kind of brush it off or turn it into motivation, or how can you deal with that and roll with it. Yeah, it kind of just depends a little bit for everybody. And you might get a band that thinks they're the cat's pajamas and the greatest band ever, and maybe they need to have a little bit of that feedback and figure out what to do with it. Or maybe you have a band that's absolutely phenomenal and they just have no confidence. And it's about finding the balance, right? You need to be confident in the product and your art, but also you don't want to be cocky. You don't want to be coming off as rude or better than, right? So it's kind of a balance, and you want to work above or below to get to that sort of middle point that you have the tools to deal with whatever it is.
That makes sense.
It does. It really does. Now, what's your guys' background in this? Do you guys have schooling for this kind of work?
Want to go first?
Me?
Dog said your guys.
Yeah.
Your guys. What's your guys'?
Your guys'
We're super educated here too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My background is mostly just in music predominantly. That's what my kind of education is in, and most of my experiences in performance and some show running. Like I said, we my band Space Between did Rocktoberfest and kind of ran that, and done a lot of other self-promotion stuff for ourselves. And then Gina's kind of where most of the other
side of it is.
Lots of experience comes from.
So I'm not going to give you my super long bio to bore you to death, but I do have. So my background, kind of education, is around. I am a clinician. I'm a behavior analyst by training. I have a training around mental health supports and therapy. Do take more of a proactive approach when supporting people. I have worked with all sorts of individuals from all different walks of life, different labels that they have attached to them. And so do I have any particular education within the music realm? The answer is no. I bring a lot of passion. So that's something I think. But I do always enjoy kind of a challenge, and I have gone into areas where it hasn't been my area of expertise, and I'm still in school. I'm doing a doctorate right now, but also just really interested in delving into like other areas that I find interesting and kind of like absorbing everything and slowly becoming the expert. But appreciating at this point that I'm probably nowhere near that level of expertise in that with regards to the musical industry in specific.
Yeah, but I think that you're training in being a clinician and having mental health training. It's certainly helpful in, I would say, this industry because how challenging it is for musicians and artists and to make a living of it, and that's like something that probably they fight with every day. I mean, James would probably know better than I would, but certainly I think that that's true. And so that would probably be very helpful in your industry for sure.
I think you got a good balance between the two of you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think one of the biggest issues that people face, and even when we went to Canadian Music Week, and there was a discussion around mental health, and James and I debated at length about where the industry's at, association with mental health, and so we saw it differently. However, from my perspective, at least, what I find a lot of people are maybe lacking, and not like lacking, oh, you should know better, but lacking in the sense of sometimes you don't know what it is you're feeling, but you feel it, and you don't know how to identify it. And if you don't know how to identify it, you don't know how to cope with it. You don't know how to kind of problem solve and move past it and then build those skill sets. And so sometimes, as simple as we can be, we could also be quite complex emotionally and behaviorally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what I added you probably didn't get to is that you're both you kind of even each other out in like what you guys are doing. Like James is more like the musician, and I've been there and I've done this part, and you're more of the the clinical aspect, which is a good mix.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think.
Yeah. And do you have any projects going on right now that you're working on?
We do. We have a couple of shows, less of projects, I suppose, but we have a couple shows booked and lined up kind of from here on to the end of the year, which there's one getting announced, I think, pretty soon.
Next week.
Next
Next
week,
week.
pretty soon. And so we have a couple of those, but we have some bigger sort of ambition projects that we're looking to do for next year, for 2025, that we're kind of building the business plans and the groundwork for right now. Yeah.
Projects that we're hoping that are going to have a bit more of an impact.
Yeah, kind of
And,
more community impact.
Full disclosure, Gina got really excited about, let's start this thing, and booked a whole bunch of dates. And then I'm like, now we have to do shows. So
That's for this year. So we're working on those shows
so
for
Gina
this year.
being not experienced, just like ran with it. But this is how I'm learning of like, okay, so now like we're doing this, and so what? And what impact is it going to have? And like, not to say like I think it's going to be great, but again, I think we need to reevaluate as within our resources. What are we doing, and how are we going to really stick back to our mission? I think that's kind of where we keep on going back to every time we have these conversations. And so, I think we'll continue to put on some pretty good shows. I think our first one was pretty decent. And so that's great. But again, we're kind of keep on going back to like, what is the mission? What is the impact?
Yeah. I mean, the goal is really to be able to have more, to be able to do more than just put on a show, and to kind of have more of a community impact and a sort of a more lasting impact on the people who are playing with us. The goal is not that you just play a show and you're done, but we don't want to just be a promoter, and that's where like the other kind of aspects come into play. Like, let's help build some of the tools. We're not necessarily going to be the ones to get up and show you how to play your guitar. You should probably know how to do that when you're coming to us, but we're going to give you the extra tools to now. How are you going to navigate this challenging industry of being able to do this, and how can you effectively communicate, and how can you cope with these sorts of things? And so that's what we want to be able to include as parts of it. And so we have kind of one or two big projects that we're sort of working on, finishing developing for next year, that'll hopefully include kind of more of that.
Cool.
So you're going to be like teaching some folks how to negotiate social media as well, like getting your posts out there on Instagram, on Facebook, on Spotify, whatever.
TikTok.
We're not on TikTok.
No.
Oh my gosh.
No TikTok.
Not a fan?
I'm not. It's just not something that I'm on.
That's fair.
It would be.
As
As
a mental health professional, I would suspect that there's a reason for that.
I mean, if
No,
you
it
wanna,
would be a train wreck.
If you want to have a side discussion,
Gina and I should not have a profile on TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it would be good.
Fair enough. Fair
I
enough.
think it's directed at me, but okay.
No, I think it goes to the both of us. I don't particularly like TikTok either.
Some things are just not your thing, and I mean, like and that's perfectly fine. It could be somebody else's thing. It's just not ours.
Instagram, Facebook, kind of our main sort of go-tos. Seems to be the go-tos for most people.
You don't really need much more than that. I mean, there's this YouTube, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if you're putting out, video content, music content.
Yeah, so I typically actually don't like video content. I don't even like recording myself. So this is going to be interesting.
Doesn't like her own video.
I don't like my own video content.
That's
Other
different.
people's video content is fine, but I typically will stick to just a picture. But here we are. I'm breaking my own rules.
Yeah. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the dark side.
What's been the biggest challenge so far with starting up the business?
I don't know if you have anything else to add, but
you go first.
it's a challenging industry, but it's also a challenging scene. And I think the Ottawa scene is really going through a lot of changes right now, and which is great. It is a good thing, and I've seen a lot of quite a bit of growth and development in the last, I don't know, like 2 years, sort of, that we've been kind of coming out of things. And I think people are still trying to get a hold of what's happening, and there's a lot of people doing things. So there's a lot of competition, even though it's not like intended competition. There's just so much happening. The market is really kind of blowing up right now, which is pretty cool. It's just very challenging to try and squeeze all the exciting stuff into, Mondays, or sorry, Fridays and Saturdays, right? And so everybody sort of is doing things kind of on the same timeline, right? And so having enough space where you can kind of have your own thing be sort of at a unique time. So kind of competing for audience, even though we're not intentionally competing, I think is a challenging thing.
Yeah, I think I found I agree with James that it can be challenging, especially when you want to support you want to support the bands and the artists that are out there, and you're like, I'm going to come to your show, and then it's like, okay, but like other two bands and artists that I wanted to go see or also support are playing on the same night, and so having to make that decision is sometimes a little bit difficult, and so that for sure that competition that exists. From my perspective, what I found a little bit challenging is, again, not being a part of the industry and kind of like diving into it, of like trying to understand why certain things are done in certain ways. And the answer is typically, well, it's always been done that way. And, me questioning like, well, has anyone considered it this way? Or like, why don't we all get along and like communicate with each other? But so that has been a bit challenging, of trying to see things from a different perspective that I haven't seen before, but also to propose to others to like, okay, but why don't we try to look at this other perspective, and like maybe things can change or stay the same, but like neither are right or wrong. It's just a different way of viewing it. And then sometimes the communication has been a bit of a challenge, and I think I would like to see more like open communication with each other, and again, like that professionalism and like being respectful towards each other is also kind of like coming more of like a collaborative team approach, for whether it's like a show or a collaboration outside of a show, whatever the case may be, but everything should be like we're coming together and collaborating. So I'm not saying like I've had any like negative experiences. It's just, just getting everybody on board can sometimes, right? Like you're trying to bring everyone in on the team, and everyone's busy, and everyone has their other jobs and stuff. So that can be a bit challenging.
Yeah, it's definitely like, I think one thing that's, we've kind of seen and that we'd love to try and work on a little bit is like, you might get trained on how to actually to play your instrument, or songwrite or whatever, but you never really get trained on how to be like a professional in the industry, if that makes sense, because there's not really a standardization. And so, and I've seen this in the scene myself in other areas, but just everybody has such different ways of doing things. Everyone has such different methods of communication. Not everybody has the same idea of what is, the professional avenue to do things. So I think it's very challenging. It's not like you show up, you're like, oh, I'm going to be in a band now, and someone trains you. You have to kind of figure it out. And if the people who you learned it from were doing it in kind of a weird way, then you're going to kind of do it in a weird way, unless you sort of stop to think about, why it is you're doing it that way. And I think that's sort of what's happened it's not just music, but in a lot of ways, is people sort of inherited this way of doing things that's not necessarily the best or easiest or, most convenient kind of way of doing things, but you sort of run with it. And so we're trying to sort of streamline things a little bit, at least in everything we're doing. Obviously, we're not going to change everything right away, but try and make things a little bit more streamlined, because it's just hard to keep track. Running an organization, trying to do things in everybody's different little way, it's very, very challenging.
Yeah, no doubt. And also, like, collaboration is such a great thing, especially when you're all kind of going for the same goal.
So I would suspect that you enjoyed the SRC show because they did quite a few collaborations on the stage. Did you guys like that show?
Yeah, it was neat. I thought it was cool seeing them bring up, lots of different people from the community. I thought it was cool. The venue was neat. I've never seen actually a show. I know they do them occasionally, but I've never seen a show on the patio there, which was cool. But yeah, getting other people out from other bands to play with them was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Do you guys like for your company? Are you guys looking ahead to see? Okay, do we really want to do anything through Blues Fest or Folk Fest or on those times? You kind of working around those times, or you just like, you know what, we're going to put a show on right in the middle of Blues Fest?
No, I think we're definitely thinking about it because, and I think everyone should in a way, unless you're doing something that's so niche that's really not going to, get to whatever is happening. Like, if you're running Blues Fest and you're going to run some show that's like completely, left center, that's not going to meet up with those people's interests. But when you have something like Blues Fest or City Folk, those are kind of the city's two big main ones that people are going to. The audience is just pulled kind of away from focus, right? So if you put a show on, it's probably going to get lost. And even for us, I mean, we're looking at other things too, like, Double Experience has their Jet Black weekend. It's like, okay, well, we don't want to crowd that weekend. Or, there's Panda Fest. Okay, well, we don't want to crowd that. There's all these extra things that we're trying to be conscious of, not only out of respect for them, like we don't want to be, trying to create competition, but we also want to make sure that as many people as possible can go to, the shows that they want to go to. It's happened, like Gina said, where, you see like, 3 great shows. And it's like, well, I can't go to all 3 of these. I wish I could, but you can't cut me up into 3 pieces and go enjoy these 3 shows. So, we're trying to not create competition, but also, keep things busy for people. I find there's a lot of sort of lulls in the year throughout, where there's nothing. And then all of a sudden, you hit June and there's everything. Right.
Yeah.
So kind of spreading it out a little bit, I think is nice for not only the kind of concert goer, but also for us and the promoters.
Yeah, makes sense.
Well, you've got some promoters that are promoting like pretty much every weekend.
Yeah.
Or, twice a month. Are you guys going to go that line? Or are you guys just going to spread it out a little bit and do a little bit less of that and more of other things?
Yeah, so I don't think we are going to be doing it that often. I mean, unless there's like little spurts here and there. But we haven't discussed anything. But we are planning on spreading it out a little bit more. We do put a bit more time in planning and organizing our events. Like we do have, like the reason we have booked the Club Saw shows is because we have a great relationship with them, and largely because of how organized and well put together our shows have been. And so we put a lot of thought and effort into how they are run, and then what we are going to offer the bands and the artists. Like, so it's not just, okay, now you show up and do your thing, and then here's like you get paid. There's a lot more involved in that, even like with like kind of the hospitality that we provide, but also we're fully transparent. So we provide the full disclosure of all of our expenses and how much everyone gets paid. So there's a lot of process and planning around that. And then for all of our kind of major shows, I do also paint canvases to put for silent auction, which also generates a little bit more revenue that's split between the bands and so it's 50-50 between the bands, and then the rest is put back into Chiron to try to hopefully cover some of our costs. But that's just, so there's a lot more involved in just putting on a show. So we rather kind of have the quality as opposed to the quantity for us, at least.
And that's not to say that like all the other promoters that are, running things every weekend are not putting out a quality show. A lot of them have been doing it for decades and have either, it's more than 1 or 2 people, or they have more of a sort of ecosystem. And so they're definitely kind of in a different situation. But I think, yeah, like for us, we're really working more on trying to have fewer shows, partly so that it's manageable for us. Like this is not our, primary endeavor. This is our, this is an extra thing that we're doing on our own time to kind of, just have and do out of sort of passion. But we want to have a little bit more of an impact, and with the things we're doing, like we said, not just about putting on a show, right? We want to have some extra things, and so it just takes a little bit more time to put together.
I would suspect so. Would you? Are there any interesting developments in the industry that have kind of changed the way you look at things as far as promoting?
It's a good question.
Full of them at times.
Well, I mean, again, I think there's a lot more going on, like if we're looking at more localized within Ottawa, which is amazing. I think there's a lot of great promoters putting on great shows and promoting Ottawa music, which is also amazing. How does that impact us? One of the most of the questions I'm asked most often is like, well, what makes you different? How do you expect to compete with everybody else? And my answer always is, well, I'm not actually competing with anyone. Like, if people are competing with me, I guess, but that's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to be like, oh, we're the best promoter in Ottawa. Like, that's not our goal. Our goal is to have some small impact for whoever is willing or is needing of kind of our service and joins along our journey. So it doesn't really, I don't think it necessarily impacts us, aside from the fact that like things are kind of like progressing more so in Ottawa, more traction is being gained. So I guess that in some way does affect us, because like we can be a part of that. But to the day to day, I think like we're again focusing on what our goals are. But I think things overall are looking pretty good.
I don't know if there's any like major actual developments that I've seen since we've started. Like, there's definitely more happening in Ottawa, but in terms of actual like developments, I don't know if there's a ton, at least that I'm seeing. I don't know. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay. Now you guys, with your promotions, are you looking at a certain genre, or are you guys all across the board with who you want to promote and what kind of shows you want to put on?
It's pretty all across the board. We have like an application portal that's live on our social media that anyone can kind of apply to, and the range of music that we've got is just huge. We have pretty much literally everything sitting in that folder right now of people who have applied, and we're interested in doing all of it, really. It's just about finding the right opportunity for them and putting together bills that work. But yeah, definitely, not looking at one genre over another, really. There are certain genres in Ottawa that sell well. Mm-hmm. And so obviously, part of that we keep in mind a little bit for some of the larger shows. If you run a massive show with a ton of overhead and no one comes, well, it's not really great. But but there's still a market for even the most niche of music. So we're definitely interested in promoting all of it. And for a lot of them, they're having a hard time. Those artists are having a hard time finding other places where they can do that, because there are certain genres that sell well in Ottawa, and a lot of promoters won't touch anything else.
Yeah.
And which, from a business standpoint, you can sort of understand, but from a supporting the art standpoint, you want to be able to have sort of fair opportunities for all those different styles.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got to kind of get pigeonholed with some of the venues, right?
Yeah.
Like some of the venues, it's like, okay, this is what they're playing here. They're playing metal. They're playing hard, heavy rock. They're playing this. You're not going to bring in a Mikhail Laxton to play these shows at this place, right?
That's right.
So yeah, it's kind of good that we have it all over the city, and there's lots of more places sprouting up. Like you got the Ottawa Bagel Shop doing shows on Wednesdays and Sundays, I think.
Wow.
Yes, and yeah, that's kind of fun to go down there and to just sit and have a bagel and listen to some good, like mostly acoustic music, but it's actually really good.
An excellent bagel, actually.
Yeah,
they have good bagels.
Yeah, I have quite a few peers playing there. It's a neat production. I think it's their second or third year of running it.
Yeah,
which is cool.
When the daughter took over the business from the dad, she became very innovative, like very more modern thinking for sure. What are some of the habits or practices that you found to be most helpful for personal and professional growth with the promotion company?
You're looking at me.
Do you have anything?
All right, practices that have been like the most helpful. Like I think this very same kind of goals that would have for to to pass on to the artist, which is kind of like the goal. Practices include accepting failure and accepting hearing no, or not everyone's going to be nice to
She's
you.
talking about hearing no from me.
Yeah,
I say
no,
no. Sometimes.
people say no to me too. Everyone's not going to be nice to you. And so what do I do with that? I mean, I can be disappointed for sure. But one of the questions I've kind of always asked myself, and this is through like my career from like many, many years ago, would be like, okay, this is what's happened. This is the situation. It's very unfortunate, but okay, what can be done better? Like, there's got to be a better way. And so I always kind of like, even I'll, fully, feel the emotion and go through that, my whole like grieving process of whatever I thought I was going to achieve. And then I'm like, okay, let's get back to work, because like, how do we pivot, or how do we work around this? Because there's always a way, and always a way that you can come up with other solutions or ways around an issue. And maybe you don't have the answer right away, but kind of working towards that has been helpful for me professionally throughout my own kind of career, but even through Chiron and trying to figure out things and problem solving and kind of just experimenting a little bit and seeing what is going to be helpful, but also appreciating that you may need to pivot and adapt and evolve as is needed. And even you may had initial ideas of how it was going to be rolled out may not actually come to actuality. And so you have to kind of go back and say like, okay, well, that's fine. I'm just gonna look at it from a different perspective, or I'm gonna try something different.
Yeah, I think that you have to have thick skin in any business, and especially because no is a very often thing. It's usually 9 out of 10 will be no. So the more you ask, the better you'll do. But yeah, it's a thing that you have to get used to. Thick skin.
Yeah. No.
No?
See, it just happened. No.
You said no?
I did.
Like a jerk.
How'd you handle that?
I don't care.
I don't make later.
No's, well, in my other life, I get sold no a lot. So it's not like that's the one thing is you can get used to it, and you just have to stop caring about it. Don't care about no's. Move on.
Yep.
Deal with the ones that said yes, and then that's the best way to do it.
I mean, it's still important to like feel the emotion of the rejection though, because you need to process it. You can't just let it like, but you still got to go through the whole process.
That's right. Yeah. But it's a good learning experience.
It is. And the more you go through it, the quicker you're like, well, that really sucks. But then like you can pick yourself back up and like, oh well, and then keep moving, right?
That's right. Exactly. Keep moving. Keep on moving.
So what's the trick, guys, to balancing your lives with this, James, with the band, and Gina with work? How's the balance working for you?
I'm still learning it. I think it's definitely challenging. I do a lot of things, and so trying to find the time to get everything done can be pretty tricky sometimes. So I think for this, it's trying to figure out like, if I'm interested in working on something, then I'll be much more willing to work on it, as opposed to, if I'm not really feeling it. So, for stuff like this and this new stuff we're sort of hopefully working on for next year, it's a lot more interesting to me, and the idea of kind of building in more community impact and that kind of stuff is what sort of intrigues me. And so when it's something that I'm passionate about, then it's much less of a kind of burden to work on it. So, I mean, really for this, all the Chiron stuff sort of happening in my spare time, because I don't really have a lot of spare time, but it happens whenever I can, or I'll just sort of think on things while I'm doing other random tasks. I don't know. I
Right.
still working on trying to find enough time to do it.
I mean, for me, the balance, like this is supposed to be my hobby. So this is me doing this is getting away from all my other
Your
work.
hobby is starting an organization.
My hobby is starting this. Yeah. So like for me, this is
Getting a
this is my-
PhD.
Some people play with Lego or
no,
you
not
know,
me. I'm like, let's see what we can do. Like, let's see. Yeah. So like,
yeah.
I'm able to balance it, but it's not like we don't do like a ton of like.
No, and
hours
that's
in
why
work.
we're not doing, shows every weekend. We don't have the capacity for it. It's not our full-time job. So
I mean, if
I
we
think
did it
that's
full
good.
time though, like best shows ever.
There you go.
Well, no, I think that also you want to, because of your time, like you want to put a good product forward, and to do that is not to do quantity; it's actually do quality. And
Yeah.
you work on your passion while you're working the other positions, and eventually the passion takes over the position,
Yes.
right?
Sure.
I mean, let's ask the psychiatrist there.
I'm not a.
He's such a jerk. He didn't understand what I was getting at, but he knows what I mean. What are your go-to resources?
You know what? I do. It's probably so bad. I do so much of my research through social media.
Yes.
But only because that's where people are actually active. If I'm looking for bands, if I'm venues, this goes to pretty much all venues are like not good at social media. And I understand it's like not their priority. So it's like hard to find information on them sometimes. But bands, I mean, social media is usually where they're putting stuff. If a band has a website, it's got minimal information, but the social media is really where their kind of current stuff is happening. So when I'm looking for people or, doing research on different acts, that kind of thing, like that's kind of where I'm doing it.
Cool.
So
Yeah, no, I would agree because there's no the only way we get people on the show is through social media.
Yeah, nobody really stops us on the street and says, "Hey, I'd like to be on your show."
That's not entirely true. You get a lot of
Yeah, people
know who you are, dude.
Yeah, a little
I
bit.
can walk right by them. They're like, "Who's the tall, big-headed guy walking
Yeah.
by?" Oh, there's Dog. It's okay.
You
I'm not
guys-
good with it.
You guys have a like a golden person. Is there a group or a person that you would love to do a show with here in Ottawa, or maybe in the surrounding areas?
In this sort of endeavor, I don't know if I have one specifically.
I think there's many.
You can dream big if you want.
I think there's many. We're not going to name names if that's what you're hoping for.
Damn
There's many, and I think we're
Too
actually
democratic.
gonna have the opportunity to work with many of them.
Oh God! Thank you for the diplomatic answer there.
it's so Ottawa, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
we like everybody.
It wasn't a like or dislike. It was just like, who's there somebody out there that you'd really like to do a show
I was
with?
just being a.
You're going to find out. I
God.
mean, soon enough. Maybe
That's
you'll
right.
find
Yeah,
out.
well, see, what we were trying to do there was try to pull a little bit out of you, but you did very well against the.
She
against
figured
the
us out.
pressure. Yeah.
Under pressure. You could put like hot lights against me and everything. I won't let up.
Fair enough. That's good. That's a good thing.
What if I came visited you at work though?
Visited.
Yeah. Go to Algonquin College and just hang out and say, Gina.
Well, I think you'd be arrested very quickly.
No, I just hang out.
Who's
with
this old man
wandering the hallways at Algonquin?
Yeah, but
yelling
then the cops
Gina?
would recognize and go, "Oh my God, it's Dog."
Is that Dog? Is that Dog from Dog and the other guy?
Dog and that other guy?
Yeah.
His assistant.
Not true.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Okay, fine. No tea spilled. I guess.
No, that's fine. We'll keep watching and waiting until you guys put up your next show.
When you say you lose inspiration while you guys are hanging out and talking about the business, what do you do to bring it back?
I kind of do a similar thing with. I mean, this happens for me in sort of all areas that I work on things. I have a lot of kind of creative outlets, and so it's very common that I'll lose inspiration on whatever it is I'm working on. And I mean, to be honest, I just kind of walk away for a brief period, and then something will hit me, and I'll, get that spark again. I find if I'm not getting it in the moment, I don't really like sitting there and wasting my time to try and force myself to feel, that sort of spark from it. So I'll just kind of take a break and wait for something else to hit me, I think, and I'll find inspiration in whatever else it is I might be doing. Not to say I'm not walking away from Gina, but take a break from what it is. And
He is walking away from Gina. Gives me all sorts of sass all the time.
yeah, well,
That's so not James, though.
I feel like that's sort of his persona. So
I don't
it's
know.
fair.
I don't know. There's another side to him.
I never really got sarcasm. I never figured it out.
I don't know. For myself, I guess like I maybe step away from it from a little bit as well, and then come back to it. But like I don't think I ever lose inspiration. I get frustrated if I don't have like an answer to a solution or like a clear vision, but I know I'll get there. I just need to go through the process of it. And even like when things are going kind of like, well, that's unfortunate. That made me, feel very disappointed. I'm still kind of like, it needed to happen. I know it's like there's a reason why it's happening and I'm supposed to get something out of it. So I try to look at what I'm supposed to get out of it. And once I figure out, okay, like this is what I'm supposed to get out of this, then I become re-inspired. It's all part of the process.
Part of the process, yeah.
For sure.
What are your long-term goals and aspirations for the business?
I don't know if I have any sort of one specific thing. I would love to be able to sort of be a part of, and I think Chiron would be part of this, be a part of helping to grow the Ottawa music scene to kind of a bigger scale, and create a little bit more of an ecosystem where you can kind of start from the bottom and grow your way up. That was something that I sort of took away just from being in Toronto, and not even just the Toronto music scene, but just other places in Canada and in the US, just, the major music cities, and sort of analyzing what it is that we're missing here, and trying to figure out how we can sort of help fill that gap. So it's not like one thing in specific, but trying to see what we can do to be able to sort of do our part to help that out, I think.
Yeah, it's funny. We spoke to someone who said that we're in a little bit like it's becoming an ecosystem in the sense that it reminds him of the Seattle grunge scene from the 90s. So
I think we're on our way. I really do.
I think it could be something that could happen if everybody collaborates the way that you guys talked about. I think that's a big thing too. I think that having a community feel and like you said, having an ecosystem, I think that was a great way to put it, James, is to make everybody be able to grow the way they want to, as fast as they want to, if they put the effort in.
Yeah. And I mean, interesting that you mentioned Seattle. I mean, Seattle was when you look at all those bands, so many of them are like combinations of other bands, right? Like, yeah. Oh, this person was the guitar player in this band. And then, so it's interesting because became kind of a pretty small sort of scene, just where everybody knew each other. And I think Ottawa's in a lot of ways similar. I mean, like the guys in Sunday Ride Club are doing, like, everybody in the city is friends with them because they're super nice. How could you not be friends with them? They don't really have any sort of bad blood towards anyone unless it's secret behind closed doors. Then I don't know. But, they're so supportive, and it's not just them, there's a ton of other bands that are like that. And I think those bands have the right idea. Like there's no space for competition. And I think, more important is to just be supporting each other. Because if you want to succeed, then you also want the people around you to succeed, right? Like if everyone is doing, better and having a more successful career, and it helps grow the scene. And if the scene is bigger, then there's more opportunity, and then you have more, chance to sort of, grow. So I think that's a big part, is just try and sort of fortify that sense of community, and while we grow it. You don't want to lose it either and go too big, and no one knows each other and everyone hates each other and it's just trying to backstab each other. That's kind of the inverse effect. But I like you said, I think we're on the right track towards something.
I believe we are. Like every show that I go out to, there's fans there, but there's also other people from other bands. Like, I mean, we'll see you'll show up, Tom will show up, Marin, guys from Marble Ghost, like the other bands are supporting these bands. You shouldn't be tearing each other down. You should be building each other up.
It's deep.
Thank you.
Wonder if they even heard that.
Probably that pearl of wisdom.
I got it. Definitely agree.
Yeah,
And
you guys just sort of sat there dumbfounded.
I was blown away by the wisdom.
Thank you.
frankly.
Thank you. I am older. I am older.
Oh man, that was good. Okay, so what are the predictions of the future of your industry? Do you think that the role of AI? Do you think there's some things that'll come along that'll be helpful? What do you think?
Okay, so that time we weren't just blankly staring, and I did miss part of your question.
It was something about AI.
But yeah, you did ask about AI.
Well, I did. What do you think the predictions of for your future of the business? Do you think AI will be a part of that? Do you think that there'll be other things that kind of you're seeing right now that will help?
I don't really see AI as being a helpful tool, at least not in the next 5 to 10 years. I don't know. I mean, it was interesting because this is also something that I've seen a lot of people discuss, on a more grand level, industry wise.
Canadian Music Week.
Canadian Music
so
Week had
many
a ton of panels on it,
AI.
and it's a big concern for music artists and graphic artists and all that kind of thing. And I don't know. I don't necessarily see how it would be a massive sort of effect on us, aside from if it gets integrated into other operating systems. You see it sort of happening with different programs and platforms where they're integrating kind of more sophisticated AI into it. And in that sense, it's really just a tool to make things easier. But, I don't think we're going to Chat GPT to say, make our poster for us. So I don't know that it's really going to have too much of an impact on us, at least not directly. Indirectly, I'm sure it will, but.
Yeah, I could see it.
I'm not sure how I feel about AI generated songs, though. You know what I mean? Like lyrics and stuff. I just don't.
No, I mean, I think it'd be easy to say, can you write me lyrics about this, this, and this, and this, and this, and spit something out, but then you got to sing it and whatever. But I think that'll happen. It's going to happen.
It's already happening.
Yeah.
Well, it's already happening. You can get AI to create the song for you, and it'll give you a recording.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I mean, it sounds like half decent, but it's missing some quality. And I'm sure they'll train it to get better. But I don't think it'll replace what's existing.
No, live music will always be better.
Right. And I think that's kind of key.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why your company will do well.
Exactly.
Yeah. 80s or 90s?
See, I told you to ask. Gina,
you should
before
know.
Gina was like, well, what kind of questions are they going to ask? Like, what do we need to know? And I said, they're going to ask you 80s or 90s. I don't know what the heck else. They might ask us anything, but they will.
Which we did, and then you caught some of it, and then you got mad at me, and then everything was okay. But 80s or 90s, Gina,
okay, 90s.
Okay, who's your favorite band from the 90s?
Oh, you can't do
Ace of
this
Base.
to me. No, it's not Ace of
Ace
Base.
of Base.
I believe the show is called the Doug and Gus Show. So he can ask you anything. You don't have to answer, but
No, you got to.
like if you could think of one 90s one.
Saying, like, it's difficult to kind of pinpoint.
I told you they'd ask one question.
How difficult?
Okay, so
Just pinpoint one.
if I'm going or I didn't even prepare. Why you didn't say like what kind of music? They wouldn't ask what
You
kind of
should have
music.
known.
I should have known.
It's actually,
okay,
I
so,
threw that in there actually.
Yeah, like let me just list a whole bunch that I listened
asked for
to
one.
back in the 90s. Oh, you just want one though. That's hard.
We just want one.
What kind
We just want one.
Well, just start with one and
Gina,
stop.
Gina,
Should we just like
answer it
focus on
any-
Canadian, and then that way,
No, Gina, answer it any
that
way
way
you'd
we
like.
can like wrap it up?
Gina, answer it any way you'd like.
Okay, it's hard. It's a hard one to answer. I don't know. I don't have like one favorite. It's just like
So
I
name
went.
5. I don't care.
Okay. I mean, like, you know, Nirvana Hole, Our Lady Peace, I really liked in the 90s. Biff Naked,
Oh, good one.
Moist. Like those are kind of like the
A lot of Canadian
main
bands.
ones. There's like so many more, but those are the ones from the 90s that kind of are just popping in my mind right now because I did not prepare for this.
Moist is great.
That's
They're
okay.
still good. They're still kicking around. They're doing cool stuff.
Nice. What about you, James?
I think I said 80s last time, and
You
I still
did.
think I'm going to go with 80s.
Who's your favorite 80s band?
I think it changes pretty often. I think right now I'm going to go with Talking Heads.
Ooh, good choice.
Great choice.
Yeah.
Solid.
That's what it is.
You may come back on the show, James. Gina, we're not.
He's
so
the
sure.
he's the third. This is his third appearance.
I
on the
know.
show.
Am I
So
on
this is
3?
your- Well, yeah, because you guys came on before Rocktoberfest, and then originally came all the 3 of you.
Oh, yeah. Is there a record? Who's been on the most?
You.
Yeah.
You've been and haven't been annoying once.
Oh.
Yeah, not even once.
Well, wait till 4.
Oh, come on, James. Smile. It's a war.
It's a war.
James versus James.
Dun, dun,
Thanks, guys. We appreciate you spending some time with us and promote it, like talking about the promotion company, and we'll follow you along. And obviously, we may have something cooking.
We
too.
don't may.
Yeah, we have something cooking, so we'll talk to you about it.
Nice.
Yeah, something in August. Hopefully, you have some time. Well, thanks again, guys.
Dog and Gus, Dog and Gus, Dog and Gus.